Hi there, my name is Beth Berry. I'm Vice President of Business Development for Real Green Systems. Real Green is based in Walled Lake, Michigan. We serve the lawn and landscape industry as well as pest control. I am broadcasting live today from Indianapolis, Indiana, from my home office on April 20th, and I have the pleasure of hosting Fred Haskett today. Fred is one of the founding members of the Harvester Group. They have been longtime consultants in the green industry. Fred has spoken at Solutions at our user conference to Real Green customers, providing financial pillars for sustainability, KPIs. Fred hosts peer groups in the landscape and chemical lawn care space. Many colleagues from Scott's are part of your peer groups and speak very fondly about the work you're doing with them, and especially during this time, why being connected has really been helpful to them. So Fred, give us a brief introduction on you and what the Harvester Group does.
Okay, well, thank you, Beth. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with the Real Green community today. And, a little bit about myself. I spent 40 plus years in the lawn care and landscape industry, both as an owner of small and mid-sized companies and as a senior leader in several of the largest companies out there. I've been with the JC Early Green Team, the Brickman Group, Valley Crest, and US Lawns. So spent a considerable amount of time. In the past 7 years, I've been working with the Harvest Group. And we are a management consulting group that specializes and focuses exclusively in the lawn care, landscape, and tree care space. And the three principals, Bill Arman, Ed LaFlamme, and myself, all spent our entire careers in the lawn and landscape industry before we started doing consulting work. We like to joke, I joke that I did a 42-year internship so I could become a consultant. But
that's good. 42-year internship. I love that.
And today I have the opportunity to manage about 6 peer groups that comprise groups of anywhere from 6 to 7 company members and covering both the landscape and the lawn care areas with that. So that's where I spend a considerable amount of my time, also just doing coaching one-on-one with a lot of my clients. So anyway,
that's very exciting. Thank you very much for showing up today. Thank you for always supporting Real Green at our conferences and being a reliable source for our customers. So I'm trying to think, maybe we've been quarantined for 6 weeks or something like that. It's like Groundhog Day every day. But what has it been like in terms of your providing answers? What are the FAQs you're getting during this time of COVID crisis from your customers, and what are the best ways in which you're providing value to them?
Well, one is, we like to say that, part of our process is to be accessible and provide solutions. And, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I've been trying to maintain complete accessibility to all my clients and my peer group members, and also working as the fluid situation that we've got into right now has been changing, trying to find out what's the next evolution, getting the information pulled together from a variety of sources and being able to present it as it's coming, and then to answer questions on how to adapt to the situation. We've gone through several cycles here in the last 4 or 5 weeks, starting with, how do we handle shelter in place? How do we communicate with our clients, our employees? How do we maintain a safe working environment? How do we sanitize trucks? How many people can be in a truck? The face mask thing, and then also the Family Leave Act laws and things of that nature that came up, trying to investigate that and give them counsel on how to adapt to that, how to explain it to their employees, and how to react to that. And then most recently here, we've spent a considerable amount of time walking everybody through the payroll protection plan, and how do I deal with this? What's the process I should use? How should I talk to my banker? What do I need to do to, and if I get the funds, how do I handle them? Things of that nature. So it's been everything from A to Z terms of the COVID crisis, and then talking to them about understanding what the opportunities that are in front of them now, because there are opportunities here. Where actually most of the companies that I work with are working. They're not in the most efficient mode they've ever been in, but they're working, they're functioning, and a lot of them are seeing stable sales. Some are seeing increase, some are seeing a little bit of slippage in some sales processes. It really depends on where you're at and what the extent of the orders are. But so that's pretty much what we've been doing, trying to stay on top of the situation and stay with everybody and help them through the process here.
Let's talk about one of the most time sensitive events of the last, I'll call it 3 weeks, and one of our most frequently asked questions. And even if you don't have all the most up-to-date information, maybe you can provide a reliable source. We have clients, lawn care owners, landscape owners who are saying, I'm in a terrific position. I don't think I need the payroll protection program. I don't think I need the SBA loan products. That's one question. Or we have customers who are saying, I'm probably going to need it for a short period of time. If you're in business in Michigan, and unfortunately it's still considered non-essential, those folks need the PPP program and aren't really sure. Once they've gone after their banks, either they haven't received follow-up or they received an immediate, we're out of funds at this particular bank. So tell us what you know about the federal programs, their availability, and even if you think you don't need them, should you take advantage of them, and any other information you could provide along those lines.
Okay, all right. Well, the first thing is, if you handle it right, it's free money. So I'm telling all of my clients to apply for and try to get those funds because, again, if it's used properly, it's entirely forgivable. So they're not going to have to pay it back if they utilize it correctly. Now, there's very clear parameters in the application process, and it can only be used for payroll and all of the costs associated with keeping the lights on, the utility bills, the website, the phone, the lights, the heating and air conditioning. I mean, that's the basic stuff it's there for. And if you utilize it only for that, you will not have to pay it back. So again, because one of the things that I'm telling everybody consistently is right now you need to preserve cash, because we don't know how long this is going to last. I suspect we're starting to come out of it, but we don't know. It's changing almost daily. So you may, this is 8 weeks of revenue or of monies or funds, but what happens, 12 weeks from now, 16 weeks from now, we don't know. So get the money, apply for it, get it processed, get the money in your account, and use it for what it's supposed to be used for. And the money that you're taking in from your clients, the regular revenue streams you have, preserve that cash. Sit on that cash to the best of your ability on that, because you don't know, then it becomes a safety net for you inside of your operation. Now, as far as the process, I'm telling people, again, apply for it. And I would say right now, I think about 75 or 80% of my clients have received notices from the SBA that they've been approved. And probably about 50% of those have reported back to me that they've received their funds. So the system is working. Now, it got off to a rocky start. The first 6 or 7 days was pretty rough. The banks were trying to figure out how to do it. The SBA was trying to figure out how to do it. I mean, it was a loan program put together in about 2 weeks for 30 million potential borrowers. So, I mean, it was crazy out there. Now, if you've been told that your application is in, but it hasn't been accepted, or the bank is out, the funds have run out, just keep going, because they're going to refund this program. They're arguing about it right now, but supposedly today or tomorrow, our friends in Congress are actually going to agree to a plan. and they will refund it. Now, if it takes a couple more days while they fight among themselves, like, we have to be the adults, so we have to stay on the sidelines and watch them. But I'm almost certain that they will refund this on it, and it'll only be a matter of a couple days. So just keep working the problem, keep working the process. I'm also telling my clients to don't rely on communication from your bank. You have to be the squeaky wheel here. I'm telling everyone to micromanage your banker. Call them every 48 hours at minimum and push them, bug them on that. And then call your congressman and your senators and let them know that, their program is not getting to you. It's failing right now on that. So we got to keep the pressure up on all sides of this thing to make it work on that. But it is valuable. It's a valuable resource, and it really will help you, give you the ability to preserve cash. Now, one of the things that we're seeing out there is that, unfortunately, some of the large institutions seem to be struggling with this more than the small regional and local banks. The early stuff that I heard back in terms of positive reports about applications being received, approvals being extended, and money being funded, the vast majority of those came from small and regional banks. Some of the larger institutions really struggled with it, and I think they had some internal issues here and there. Bank of America had some issues. The worst one that I've seen out there right now is Wells Fargo. They delayed. It took almost 7 to 8 days for them to get their process in order. And I have several clients that use Wells Fargo. I think 3 that use Wells Fargo, and so far they've not gotten any approvals out of that. But they have been told that the money's run out. So, but again, it's going to be refunded. So I told them, just keep it up. I did have one client who used Wells Fargo that went down the street to a small local bank, opened up, moved all his accounts to there, walked away from Wells Fargo, and actually got approval on that
Wow,
from the small bank.
that's
So
a great story.
now that's the only one I've heard like that. So it's probably the exception, but he just happened to be at the right place in the right time for the banker to help him on that. So anyway, so
That's a great story. So I loved a couple things that you said. One, be the squeaky wheel, because that type of perpetual follow-up, this is just too important to walk away from free money. You had to show the Ohio State thing, didn't you?
I knew you would like that.
Dang it. And all of my good Michigan stuff is in Michigan, and I'm in Indiana.
No,
Yeah,
Michigan's closed down. So
I know. I can't get in or out. Yeah. I love to tease Fred about Ohio State and vice versa. But the other thing you said that I thought was important, there's 30 million businesses trying to get these loans. If you've ever been a business owner or manager, the enormity of what they had to turn around in terms of process with the federal government, it's pretty amazing, really, the work that they've done. But it's a big task ahead of them. That is a great story, because I heard negative feedback on Wells Fargo as well, and then going to a small bank. You and I have known this for 30 years, but this business, every business is about relationships. So those customers of ours who had personal relationships with their banking financial institutions did really well, because
yes,
they already knew them. They knew who Fred Haskett was. They knew what your business was about, and they knew it was important to get back to you. So if you have not already refined a close local relationship, I would encourage you to do so. And this is one of those reasons why it really makes sense.
yeah, and if you haven't, maybe this is a lesson learned, because I've preached for years that your business operation is a series of partnerships. You have partnerships with you should have a partnership with an attorney. You should have a partnership with your accountant, and a partnership means a 50-50. It goes back and forth, so you're working with them. And you should have a partnership with your banker, and then you should have a partnership with someone like me in a consulting or coaching capacity. But if you have a relationship with a business banker, a loan officer that is involved in business banking and not just looking at scores, that will help you when we're into situations like this. And I think the people that had those had a better result than the people that just, use their banking institution as a place to process payroll through and have a checking account, and they don't have a real relationship with a person at that institution. So,
Sure.
and that's now, and if you didn't, now, when this is all over, you need to make sure you create that thing going forward.
So tell me, for those of your clients who you said get the free money because it should become grant, are you also providing them any expertise in terms of how they should track what they're spending that money on, what they should spend it on if they didn't necessarily need it? And did I hear this morning that there's an 8-week window for one of the products in which you have to spend that money?
Yeah, that is, you're supposed to use that in that 8-week window and disperse it through payroll and the time frames there. And that's from the point. That's my understanding. And again, they're writing up the rules as they go along here. My understanding is it's from the point of approval on that. So you have to make sure you utilize that. Now, I think because of the delay in getting things funded and things of that nature, there'll be some adjustments made over the time. So that's to be determined, but you need to stay focused on that stuff. And what I'm telling people, again, simple stuff like when the money comes into your account, post it in your P&L as other income, so it stands alone. Don't try to mingle it with your stuff. Have your accountant help you actually figure out how we're going to represent how this money is used. If you just dump it into a revenue stream, it's going to distort your bottom line. It's going to distort your gross margin, distort your net margin. So just post it in other income, and then work with your accountant after the fact to make sure it goes to the right, is allocated to the right areas. But if it's sitting there in other income, you won't miss it on that. And then understand, again, know the rules of the road for how you're supposed to use it. If you go out and buy a truck or a chipper or some mowers or a spray rig, it'll turn into a loan. You're gonna have to pay it back on that. So, and it's proportional, but again, we should be using it what it's supposed to be for, and preserve the rest of the incoming cash coming into operation, so that for the rainy day that may come in 60 days or 90 days that we don't know about yet.
Interesting. That's valuable. In your session at Solutions that I've sat in on before, and what many of our customers hang on your expertise is, and even pre-COVID, what would you speak to in terms of being the pillars of sustainability from a P&L perspective? You mentioned cash is king right now. In the 80s, I worked at a company called Chemlon that now some people have never heard of, but
I've heard of them.
You've heard of them. We reformed accounts receivable and collections, and very finite process and procedure there. And in every office, 250 Chemlon offices, there was a piece of monopoly money that was about this big, and it said cash is king. And other than cash being king right now, what other financial pillars of stability would you point to for a business owner?
Well, one thing that I've talked about, and I've talked about it for years, and I walk all of my clients through this process, and that is to create a business plan and then a fundamental financial plan that talks about revenue, sales plans to achieve the revenue, and an operating budget through that process. So if you have those in place, you're ahead of the game. Now, right now, in the circumstances that we're in right now, I am telling everybody we're going to probably have to re-budget. And it's going to be based on what has changed in your particular operation, based on sales, operations, things of that nature. And that's going to be driven a lot by the severity of the orders in the different states. There are some states where everybody's operating just like normal. There's almost no change on that. But so depending on the severity of the situation, and if there's probably more than a 10% or 15% fluctuation, positive or negative, I usually recommend rebudgeting. Also, right now, something that we typically don't do in the spring because we're so darn busy all the time, is start to do 30-day forecasts of your budget processes. Start looking out in 30-day increments and start predicting what you think is going to happen on that. And if you, as you came from ChemLawn, you know that was almost a weekly event there. But it's not very common in the small and mid-sized businesses that they do a formal forecasting process. But I'm talking to people right now, looking at your budgets, looking at your cash flow plans, and start saying, what do you think is going to happen in the next 4 weeks? Now, not that it's going to be completely accurate the first few times you do it, but if you start to do it, and you'll start to close the gap on accuracy with your forecasts on that. So instead of just looking at your P&L, you should be looking ahead 30 days as well as looking behind 30 days, very, very specifically now. And
Prior
again,
to COVID, would you have said quarterly, or how frequent would you have suggested that pre-COVID?
I probably usually talk to people that would do it on a quarterly basis at minimum. Monthly to me is desirable, but almost, you know, again, almost nobody does it really in the smaller and mid-sized businesses in a formal process. And I think if this is going to teach us anything, it's that should be something that we start to adopt going forward. But right now, it's one of those critical crisis uh, things that you do, is start to forecast things so you don't get caught, uh, you know, by surprise with things. So if you're starting to look out in those 30-day windows. The other thing, again, we've talked about it already, but the second thing is, you know, maintain liquidity. Keep your cash on hand. And if you get the payroll protection plan, that will allow you to keep the other cash that's coming in from operations and hold on to that for anything that happens in the next 60, 90, 120 days on that. Also, you should be starting to look at your balance sheet. Typically we look at the balance sheet at the beginning of the year. We generally start looking at it again at the middle, in the third quarter, because of things going on in the spring and with busyness. But we need to start looking and making sure your balance sheet is right side up on those kind of things. And if you have some extra money setting there because of payroll protection, and you think you're not going to use it, you can pay down some debt. I'll give you an example. I had a company that was in pretty good shape. They had some excess capital, and instead of financing 3 trucks at the end of last year to offset some taxes, they paid cash for them. So now they have these 3 trucks that they paid cash for. But what they did 3 weeks ago was they went and financed those 3 trucks at current lower interest rates, took that money and paid off some of their older higher interest rate equipment. So they had some impact on their balance sheet, some positive impact on that. So they went back and looked at something they had just done and redid it on that process. Also, you can talk to all of your suppliers right now. Anybody that you have term loans on or things like that, you should be talking to your banker about your line of credit. You should be talking to everybody that you have borrowed, because you can do another thing too. You can take and ask for right now, and most companies are agreeing to it, take 3 months off from your payments. Now it'll get tacked on to the end of your loan, but you might be able to get some relief for some loan payments right now. And again, all they can do is say no. But the answer, if you don't ask the question, is absolutely no. And what I'm finding is the ones that are asking that question with their equipment vendors and some of their suppliers, the answer's, yeah, we can work something out for you. We can help you. You're helping us, we're going to help you. So talk to all of your suppliers, all of your vendors, the people that you have loans with, and see if there's any adjustments that can be made on that. Because again, we're preserving cash right now on that.
That's brilliant on refinance of the vehicles. I hadn't thought about that, but you see, for new vehicle sales, there's some incredible deals. And of course, the refinancing makes sense as well.
They got a heck of a deal on these 3 trucks, but they had several other loans that were almost paid off at much higher rates, and now they've paid it off, and their balance sheet is much healthier now than it was.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So from a State of the Union perspective, you had mentioned a survey. Tell us what you know about what's going on from a market position, maybe across the country or across the different green verticals as you know it.
Okay. Yeah, let me pull that up here. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a survey to all of our kind of what we call our tribe, our database, and our clients, and we got respondents from 38 states and 3 Canadian provinces. We asked some basic questions, but 70% of the companies did residential and commercial as a mix. 50% were landscape maintenance, and the other half was a mix of lawn care and landscape installation. So it was a pretty good survey, and the majority were between 1 and 5 million, and the average years of business was between 20 and 40 years. So these were substantial, significant companies that have been around for a while. So now some of the reactions that we got, we asked, are you communicating more now with your customers than you have been in the past? And we got 90% said yes, and we thought that was excellent. We were very happy to see that. And then we asked, have you lost business? Well, 18% had zero loss. 35% had between 1 and 10%. 9% had more than 10%. 4% had around 25 or 30. And and 28% said it's too soon to tell. But, so there has been some softening here and there on that. We ask another question. Do clients mind if you're working on their property? 87% said no. 13% said yes. They have things that they have to talk to and again, another reason to talk to your customers and let them know what's going on. So, and we ask, have some of your employees quit because of, safety or things like that? 85% said no. 15% said yes. So again, people are hanging in there, and those are the companies that are doing a good job of talking to their customers and talking to their employees and talking about how they can work, do their jobs, and be safe. So again, and are you communicating with your people? 99% said yes on that. So again, and then that corroborates that 85% of the employees have stayed in place. So we saw some good stuff there. Now, we ask, are you interviewing new people? Because I think that's one of the biggest opportunities going on here. And 50% said yes, and 50% said no. Now, I find that a little bit disconcerting, because we have an opportunity right now in our industry, because we have had, especially on the landscape side, but on the lawn care side as well, we've had some staffing issues that have been chronic over the last several years on that. It used to be, intermittent, but now it's become chronic, and we're having difficulty finding legal workers, domestic workers. Well, right now there's 18 or 20 million people have been laid off in the last 4 weeks in this country. There's a lot of people out there looking for jobs, and these were people that were working. These are productive people with really good attitudes for the most part. And they're on the street and they're looking for jobs. And if you need people, you should be hiring. If you're not fully staffed and you're working, you should be hiring. Now, I get the feedback, well, they'll all go back to their old jobs, as soon as this is over. That's true to a certain degree. But, a lot of these people have never given our industry a chance. And some of them are going to find out that it's pretty nice working in the landscape or lawn care business. I like working outside. It's better than working until 11 o'clock at night every night in a restaurant and having people spill drinks on me and send their steaks back. So, they're going to find out. And if you treat them well through good onboarding and good training programs, some of these people are going to stick. I had a landscape maintenance contractor down in Dallas who's a client of mine, said that in 2 years, he hadn't seen a single guy walk through his doors domestically that had a good and legal driver's license that could actually drive on that. And in the last 3 weeks, he's had 5 walk in his door, and he hired all of them. He's hoping that 2 or 3 of them will stick after we get back to normal on that. And so he's ahead of the game. I'm seeing, again, I've got clients down in Florida, clients in Texas, clients on the Eastern Seaboard, clients in the Midwest that are finding a higher level of applicant right now, and when they need them. Now, if you don't need people, you're not going to be hiring, but if you should, this is one of the opportunities that presents us in this situation on that. So, another question that we ask, do you have a 90-day plan moving forward? This gets back to the forecasting that I talked about. 65% said no. Now 35% said yes. So again, there's a place where we need to do a little more work and start to have better plans. And I know it's because everything's been changing, but it's starting to settle down. We're starting to get some stability in the current situation, and we're going to start opening up. So you better have a plan moving forward about what you're going to do and how you're going to do things on that. And that's what I'm going to be talking to most of my clients about over the next few weeks on that. And so, that's just some more stuff then. And we ask, have you revised your capital spending? And 70% said yes. Not surprised. 30% said no. Hopefully they're in good shape. So that's kind of the survey that we did. It was kind of quick and dirty. It wasn't fancy, but we got some pretty good responses out there. So we were real happy with what we were seeing, and it kind of corroborated a couple things that we had talked about. So,
and that was across 38 states. Are you seeing, obviously Michigan, we don't need to discuss Michigan because we know what it is, but are you seeing any other pockets geographically that are more impacted than others?
Yeah, there are a few. There are pockets here and there. Like on the West Coast, a couple states have construction work shut down. In California, it's kind of on a county basis where they've actually shut down installation and construction. I think New Jersey did that a few days ago on that, unless it was around a hospital or, the government exempted themselves from that. So, their construction moved on. But so we're seeing some construction installation stuff in pockets. We're seeing some maintenance work has been described as non-essential, but some has. For example, I'll give you Sonoma County in California and Marin County. They've made some very, very vague statements that landscape maintenance is considered non-essential except where it's essential. Now figure that out. So, so what we're telling people to be very cautious, but continue to do work and, kind of ask for forgiveness instead of permission on those kind of things. And we've got another one up in Washington. I have a client in Washington State that works in Olympia in the capital, and they have kind of the same thing. They've been told the order there is very vague, and yet they're servicing properties across the street from the Capitol building and have for the last 3 or 4 weeks and have had no pushback at all on that kind of thing. Oh, and by the way, Washington State exempted the employees maintaining the government buildings and the state parks. So, so go figure that. But so that's what you have to do. You have to read the orders. NALP has a great link on their website, on their COVID page, that they're updating every 3 or 4 days, that will tell you all, and it's broken down by the state level, and in some states at the county level, where there are contrasting orders, all of what's going on. It's being updated on a regular basis. So it's a good asset. And I've shared that link with all of my clients and all my peer group members.
On our realgreen.com/impact page. So that's a good snapshot geographically. Are you seeing some verticals within the green industry perform better than others during this time? Maybe chemical lawn care, design, build, maintenance, mowing. What are you seeing across those types of verticals?
What I see is the ones that are having virtually no problem whatsoever are the maintenance companies that are doing mowing maintenance, because that's obviously something that if they don't do, the properties are going to get into really, really disrepair on that, and there's going to be sanitation issues and rodent issues and things like that. So they seem to be the least bothered by it. Some of them are being limited on mulching or color planting or things like that on that, so that some orders, but in most orders, like in Missouri where I'm at, there's no restriction. Mulching's gone on, color planting is going on, so of that nature. We're seeing lawn care companies work normally in most parts of the country. Interestingly enough, the ones in some of the restricted areas are not restricted if they're doing some of the pest related services like mosquito and tick and things of that nature, and they're able to operate with all their services together with that. So it's situational around, but for the most part, again, we're seeing them work. Again, with the exception of Michigan. I did hear an interesting one the other day that there's a couple of towns in Michigan where everything is shut down that are actually going out and fining people for not mowing their lawns. Isn't it amazing how government works?
That's a
Um,
fact.
yeah, and it's just astonishing. You're not allowed to do it, but we're going to fine you for not doing it.
Hmm. Yeah,
And just think of all the people that, I mean, how many people are living in uh, in condominiums and things like that because they're physically not capable of taking care of a single family dwelling anymore that require our services. It's a health and safety thing as well. So, and the
oh,
same thing with the application work.
a great example is today, Amy Upton, who's the director of Michigan Nursery and Landscape Association, had an inquiry from a nurse at a local hospital in Detroit who said, can you guys help me out? I don't own a mower. I'm working several extra shifts and I can't get anyone hired to come take care of my property. So you have healthcare workers who have outsourced lawn and landscape so that they can go take care of the health of the citizens of Detroit, and they can't get anyone. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, it is very frustrating. I don't. Michigan just baffles me. Of course, as an Ohio State fan, Michigan's always baffled me, but that's a different story.
I knew that was
Sorry.
coming. I knew that was coming. I knew it. I knew it. I love it. You
So
got it. All I know is, Fred, if they take away college football, I'm just going to be under my desk with a champagne bottle and a party hat because that's where I will tap out officially.
yeah, well, me too. Me too. That is one of the most dominant forms of entertainment that I personally share in, and that's college football. I love it, and so and I have relationships all over the country based on rivalry things and things like that that are just they're just a golden part of your life. So um,
Absolutely.
now again, so other things that we're telling people again, this is the time. This is the time where your culture as a company is going to really stand out because it's a time to be close to your customers and close to your employees. And so the owners are being tested like never before as leaders on that. So make sure that you're thinking about that, that you understand that what your vision and mission and your core values are, because this is a time to really get close to those two groups that make your business possible on that, and be over communicating instead of under communicating on
That's
that. So
that's an excellent point. I had one person send me a question to ask you, and that is they're concerned that, and they, by the way, they are in Michigan, so they have employees who came back from layoff, which would be their standard seasonal layoff. They came back to work for a few weeks. Now they're back on unemployment and they're receiving, I don't have the correct term, it's an emergency unemployment bonus that employees are getting. And they're very concerned about how to get that workforce re-engaged because they're making a lot of money right now to not be working in the spring. What are your thoughts and suggestions on that?
I would say one of the things that you can do if your people are not coming in or they're not working right now is that doesn't matter. Stay in touch. Talk to them about what's going on, what you're doing, letting them know that they're an integral part of your operation, that they're valued, and that you're looking forward to them returning. It's just, again, stay close to your employees, whether they're working or not, because you want them to know how much they're valued with that. So again, it's time to over communicate on
And
that, and
there
we
are
can you can
so
text, you
many
can send Instagram, you can send tweets to your I mean, there's all kinds of things, and half of those I don't even know how to do. But again, those are the ways that they communicate, And so you can find ways to get out there and reach them and talk to them and let them know that you're still there and you're waiting for the day that they're back there.
And it's amazing how quickly we figure this technology out when we need to have it. I hate to have my picture taken. I hate videos. My daughter has said, Mom, when you die, we have no pictures for the funeral. I do not have my picture taken. I hate video. But suddenly, if that's the only way I can hang out with Fred, I'm going to figure out how to do GoToWebinar, how to do Zoom. We have a virtual happy hour every Friday at 5 p.m. Everybody brings their favorite beverage or coffee or water. And 20 of us or more from Real Green Connect as though we were at the local CJ's bar. It's not the same, but it is one way to at least say, hey, what are you doing this weekend? What are you binge watching this week? What did you do? There's an app called House Party where I've connected with friends, and it's a fun way to stay connected visually.
Sure.
And there's really no excuse. Most of these technologies are free, and you just figure it out as you have to go. I saw another landscape company that was taking box lunches out to their guys. Like, we really appreciate the fact that it used to be 2 guys in a truck. Now maybe it's 1 guy in a truck, and you don't get to go hang out with him at McDonald's for an hour or 30 minutes or 20
Sure.
minutes. And so we're going to bring you all box lunches. It's the little things that can really mean a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's all that little stuff combined that tells them, sends a message to them. You're sending a message to them how valued they are, and you're doing the same thing with your clients too. If you're in a situation where you can't service your clients, talk to them, communicate with them, make them understand that you're being prohibited right now, and you'll be there as soon as the gates open up on that. Because when those gates open up and the need is extreme in some of these areas that have locked down things more, the condition of those properties is going to be pretty rough on that, and they're going to be in a hurry. If you stay in touch with them, then they're going to give you the chance to continue on with service. If they haven't heard a word from you in 4 or 5 weeks, they're and they call and you can't get back to them right away, they're going to be at risk. Because they're going to go where they can get the quickest service on that. And, that's unfortunate. But again, if you're staying in touch with them and you're on top of the communication with them, they'll give you a break and you'll be able to get back and you'll retain most of those clients. So,
That,
it's on the owners. It's on the owners and their teams to do this with their customers, with their employees on that. But that's what leaders do.
that's
So,
what good leaders do. You're right.
mhm.
So from chaos comes opportunity. And anything that we haven't talked about that are ways for green industry owners to leverage the disruption and actually capitalize and have this happen for you and not to you? Can you think of any other ways in which one could grow their business right now because of this opportunity?
Well, again, it all boils down to communication. And again, what I'm hearing out there, especially in the areas where work is not being interrupted, is the phones are still ringing. They're not, it's not possibly like it was earlier, uh, but the phones are still ringing. So we need to be responsive. We need to be out there. We need to continue our sales processes, and continue to work and continue to grow our businesses to the best of our ability. We need to say situation normal in that regard, and continue to work those processes out there and continue to grow and develop our businesses on that. So, it's the old thing is, oh my gosh, we're closed down, or we're partly shuttered or something like that. Well, who generates the least revenue? Well, let's do something with the sales department. Let's turn it off. No, don't turn it off. Unless you're, well, in Michigan, you may have to, but in most areas, turn it on, keep it running, and keep out there, keep growing the business, because these people want the people want the services. And I've had a couple places where they've said they've had, as long as 2 or 3 weeks ago, when their direct mails were going out and things of that nature, they had record sales weeks on that. And now then again, we need to be in touch with those clients. If there's any delay in getting their services, we need to be communicating with them so that the opportunity to get the new work is solid on that. So if you can't get there right away because of all the circumstances, let them know why, and let them know you will be there. And if there's anything you need to change horticulture or agronomically, to meet those windows or something like that, tell them what you're doing to make sure that the outcomes they're going to get are going to be fine on that. So again, over communicate.
That's excellent, excellent advice. And I have my own personal tribe, and I always have my own personal tribe. And I'm not talking about my CPA or my attorney that I have, but I have professional and social folks that are among my best friends that I would reach out to. For instance, when I needed someone to comment on financial pillars, I reach out to Fred. And having a tribe is so important right now, especially in the isolation, and especially when there's uncertain economic times ahead of us. Even though our industry does appear to be very strong, I've always been an advocate of peer groups, and there are several Real Green customers that are a part of different peer groups, and I have provided content at those from time to time. You run a fantastic peer group, and for anyone who's never been a part of it, I'm going to ask you what that means. I will tell you that Joe Cusick, our founder, has been asked before when he's owned lawn care companies, Joe, why do you give away the secret sauce? Why would you ever want to tell others what you're doing? And that's a reaction I get from folks when I say, are you in a peer group? And Joe will always say, and he's proven it, I'll tell everybody everything they want to know. You want to come in and look at the P&Ls of my lawn care companies I've owned in the past, our marketing plans, this is the offer, this is how much it costs. And he said, so few people walk away and actually do it. That's
Right.
one thing. Or they'll do it differently. Some do it a lot better and say, hey, Joe, you know that idea? I tweaked it and did this with it. I think this industry is one compared to many others I've been associated with that is very giving and very willing to offer support. And obviously, I think the way you structure it, there's geographic considerations. So if I'm a $5 million landscaper, I'm not paired with someone in the next zip code doing the same. So tell us about how you structure your peer groups and why now is a terrific time to be part of one.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of basic tenets with the peer groups that I manage or that I facilitate. One is they are usually from the same business model, landscape maintenance, lawn care, tree care, things of that nature. I don't mix those up very much because I want to have people making sure they're talking about the same kind of subjects, the same kind of needs and opportunities that they have. We also keep the businesses roughly the same size ranges, like between 1 and 5 million, 6 and 10 million, 15 to 30 million, things of that nature. Because again, a lawn care company that's at 2.5 million and one that's at 14 million, they live in different worlds. They have different issues on that, and they can't really help each other all that well. So we have those kind of things. And then the final one, and the most important one, is they don't compete with each other. They're geographically remote from each other, so they do not compete. And so you can develop that level of trust with the other people sitting around the table to actually then dig deep and share really, really important information. And sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's business, things of that nature. They get together and they share and they help each other and they hold each other accountable, because who holds owners accountable in these businesses? There aren't very many people on that, but the other members of a peer group will hold you accountable. We actually call it carefrontation in that process. So they work quite well in that degree because they all have therefore they're talking about similar things and they live in similar worlds, so they can really help each other. And over the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think we've seen uh, you know the power of the peer groups. They're working together, and instead of being alone trying to figure all this out, it's not just me helping them, they're helping each other. They're knowing together instead of fearing alone. And I've had maybe a dozen comments in the last month or 4 to 5 weeks that we've been dealing with this massive crisis. One of them just, I mean, Paul Wellborn is a lawn and pest solutions in Albany, Mississippi. He just said the other day, man, am I glad to be part of a peer group right now. So, you know, um, but they are helpful. They are helpful, and they make you work. They make you be accountable. But there's shoulder to lean on. It's having a board of directors of a bunch of folks that do exactly what you do every day, and they're really
That is
cool.
great. That's a great way to put it. I can recall speaking about customer service at a peer group a few years ago, and it was Kyle Tobin and Andrew Zeeler and Brad Leahy and the Raygars and some of my favorite people. But
Hmm.
the topic that day, and it speaks to your carefrontation, I've never heard that word, I'm going to use it with my kids, was one of the companies had indicated they were going to launch mosquito as a new vertical. And it didn't get brought up. And so someone says, hey, and I don't remember exactly which company it was. Let's just say it's Kyle. Hey, Kyle, how's the mosquito launch going? Oh, well, yeah, we haven't done that. Well, why not? And to your point, no one else is going to ask him why he didn't launch mosquito, why you didn't make it a
Right.
priority. We already built it into your business model. You know the ROI is there, and you're sitting with 7 other people who have done it very well. We know the pricing model, we know the products, we know the marketing campaigns. It's an excuse removal system of your peers to help you become successful. And I've seen it work really well in this industry. If you're looking for new opportunities for business improvement or educational opportunities, you can certainly, NALP offers some wonderful business development type seminars, or they do one with an Ivy League school I can't think of, once a year, overall business development. But if you want to get real and specific in this industry with like-sized peers, there's no better way to do it than what you're suggesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great, and you have a regular dialogue with those folks. I mean, we meet once or twice a month on the phone, and then a couple times a year we get together face to face. And But it's that steady dialogue through this crisis, because all of these groups have been together and met multiple times over the last 4 or 5 weeks, sharing their experiences, talking through, how do I do this? What do I do about face masks? What do I do? How do I sanitize a truck? What are you doing? How are you doing it? All that little stuff that is, is in this convoluted thing we're in, that is how we have to deliver our service today. So they've been able to share strategies and share solutions and brainstorm additional solutions through that process together when they're together on the conference calls. So yeah, and today we're doing them Zoom. I mean, I've got new cameras and headsets, and I'm learning how to use new technology. So
That's great. Well, we will have your contact information as well as the recording of this webinar, but what is the best way to reach out to you in terms of getting more information on peer groups?
uh, by phone or by email. My email is fred@harvestlandscapeconsulting.com, or my phone number is 619-665-7854. And that's the best way. Or you can visit the Harvest website, harvestlandscape.com, and that'll get you through to the link too. But the best way is by email or phone.
And I've saved the most important question for last, and that is, who's going to win the NCAA Men's College Football Championship in January of 2021?
Buckeyes. Well, see, because what I've heard recently is that the Michigan governor is going to keep the state closed until Michigan beats Ohio State. So, I mean, I don't know what that portends for the future, but that's not, so, they may not even be on the field for a while. So anyway,
You can't kick my Michigan friends while they're down. It's just not fair.
now my favorite game of the year is Michigan, Ohio State. That's the end all and be all, and that is the best rivalry, and both sides of the field are some of the best people in this country. And so and I'll trash the hell out of them for 2 weeks every year. And they trash me, and but the rest of the time, you know, we need each other to be there, and that is, that's, I mean, it's just a super rivalry. It's a super game, and it's just two super schools together and two great states. The heck.
It is.
Now my
It
wife
is.
gets mad at me like that because she said, "You live in Missouri now, where I'm from." So, but
I live in Indiana, so it's tough to have a horse in that race. Kind of a Notre Dame fan, if you like football, and I love IU, but football's not where it's at. That's for sure. I
no,
really
they're the
appreciate.
basketball guys.
Yeah, sort of. So sad. I've heard that. We did get Bobby Knight back there this year in February, so that was very, very fun.
Yep. Yeah,
Fred, thank you for
he's a
your
class act. So,
he is a class act. Thank you for your friendship over the years. Thank you for your support of the industry. You're an icon. You're a lawn care legend. We look up to your expertise during times like this, and thank you for illuminating the fact that we really are stronger together. If you don't already have your own personal tribe, connect with Fred and get into a peer group, because no one else, your neighbor, your guy down the street who owns a gym, no one can understand really the types of issues that we are facing in this industry always, but certainly during these uncertain times. So there's never been a better time. I look forward to sharing a beer with you and Kelly again soon, and take care of yourselves, and we'll talk.
all right. Well, thank you, Beth, and thank you for everything that the great team at Real Green does too. It's, I mean, you guys have an awesome holistic set of services for the lawn care industry, and it's amazing. So again, I'm looking forward to getting together too, and in person, not in video.
Exactly. All right, take care. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. You take care. Bye bye.
All right, bye.